Mike, Terry, Mike, can't hear you.
2 days running I've done that. Welcome back to the Top 6 show. Make sure you're hitting the like button. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. Hit the bell notification button. Big weekend of football we just witnessed, and we're delving into all of it tonight. Every single bit of it. We're talking Liverpool's win over Man City, the change of system from Jurgen Klopp, the masterclass from Jurgen Klopp to beat the title favourites. We're going to be having a title race debate. Tottenham, are they being disrespected after their greatest ever start to a Premier League season? It's Arsenal's best start for 100+ years to a Premier League campaign. Does more respect need to be put on their names as well? We're going to be looking at all those matches. Were Man United robbed against Newcastle is one of the key features tonight. We're talking Graham Potter and Chelsea. Is it new manager bounce? Looking ahead of the midweek fixtures as well, and much, much more. We have got David and we've got Patrick joining us. They're both running a little bit late, so we will have Spurs representation and a Chelsea fan here later on during the show. But brilliant panel tonight. Roms is back with us, of course, looking very happy after Liverpool's win yesterday. We've got Monty here repping Arsenal, and of course Neeks here, or should I say the new host and anchor of DR Sports, repping Manchester United. And also me, of course, yes, representing Arsenal as well, as out here by breach. No doubt about it. How are we, boys? How are we? All good?
Great.
I'm not too bad. I'm not. I mean, I could. It could be better. It could be worse. It's come to what I expect at times from Man United, and also as you can see, West Indies as well. Like we lost to Scotland, not at football, at cricket. Yeah,
crazy. I've been on my best Mondays. I've not felt like this on a Monday since the start of the season, so I'm buzzing, getting ready just to chop up the games.
I bet. Took the words right out of my mouth. Can't believe it. It's really, well, what, 9 games in and we're top of the league? Mental. Can't remember the last time that was. What, 2016, I think?
4 points clear. You're 4 points clear as well. You're not just top. You're actually clear right now. And we will get onto that a little bit later. First talking point, though, of the night, as voted for by the audience, is did the ref rob Manchester United? What are you saying, Nukes? 2 big penalty calls in this game. We can see them both here, stills of them. There was Cristiano Ronaldo as he's about to shoot Trippier, catching his leg. And of course, the contact here on Jadon Sancho, both within sort of 4 minutes of one another. Did this cost Manchester United the game and the drop points? What are you saying, Nix?
I mean, they're definitely penalties. I mean, my issue isn't even the ref, because the refs made a bad decision. We get it. But refs are human. Refs always going to make bad decisions. The reason why we brought in VAR in the first place, how many years ago, across the world, is because the refs need help. We've got all the technology in the world, the slow-mo, etc., all the angles. But the refs were the only ones who had to make a decision based on first-time viewing at full speed. Yet the VAR that we brought in didn't say to the ref, I think you should go and have a look at that. Now, I have an issue with the way VAR works, because for me, once they send the ref to the screen, we know pretty much the decision is going to be changed. But I think they should allow the referee to have another look with no bias. Don't tell him what you think. Don't tell him what you think the decision should be. Don't even remind. Well, you can remind him of what the law of the game. I wouldn't even go that far. Just say, go and have another look, and let the ref go and have a look. And if he sticks with the decision, he sticks with the decision. If he changes it, he changes it. But it's unfair on the ref to allow him to make a decision with no other angles, no other video footage. And then can I come on here and say the ref robbed us? No, the ref made a mistake. The ref made 2 bad decisions against us in short space of time. Arguably, he also made a bad decision against Newcastle. The Wilson one for me was, if it was my team, I would say, yeah, penalty but soft. So I would say
question on that. Have you seen a replay of? I mean, I've had a lot of Newcastle fans messaging me saying, "What about Wilson?" And I've replied the same response to all of them. Can you show me a replay? Because the thing for me is, in real time, it looked like it could have been a foul, but I haven't seen any angles.
I saw a replay from the front on the way he's running, and you see the leg definitely connects. It's hard because the Varane doesn't go straight across him, but he does slightly go into his path. So if he gave it, I would understand why he gave
Right.
it.
Okay.
But the Sancho one, more so even the Ronaldo one. Ronaldo one for me was point blank penalty. The Sancho one, he exaggerated his dive, and you say, okay, I understand why the ref didn't give it because it looks like he's trying to buy it. But that's why the VAR is there, and that goes for both the Wilson one. And again, let the referee go and look and say no. If the ref wants to say no, the ref can say no. But to allow it to just go on like nothing's happened, I think it's just wrong. I think it's just wrong. But is the referee the reason why we didn't win the game? I'm not going to go that far because, again, it's not the last minute of the game. Anything can happen from before, after, whatever. But in close games, decisions do have impact. We're going to get onto some of those later on today. Other matches. Sure. We have to look at ourselves as players, as managers, and you hope that the referee and the Premier League are also looking at themselves in terms of the way that they're running the game. But it kind of is what it is for me.
I brought it up because it's one of the talking points viewers wanting to hear, and we are going to speak about Man United's play. What I find really interesting is this, though. I've said to people for years, you're never going to fix refereeing problems until fans are willing to support rival clubs when they get bad decisions as well and collectively call it out, because then you actually create a movement. When Man United moan about bad decisions against us, when Liverpool moan about bad decisions against them, it becomes a ha-ha look at you moment, as opposed to, oh, God, fans are actually taking this seriously. And I kind of laughed at yesterday when everyone was laughing at Man United for not getting what the response I saw online was, oh my God, that's such a penalty. I'm so happy Man United didn't get it. And my view is, well, that's why you're never going to get refereeing standards VAR better, because no one really cares. They just want their decisions to be right. Yeah. I mean, Liverpool fans, we will get onto it later. I mean, the level of abuse I've had for asking a question, did you think Haaland fouled Fabinho, is mad. And the response from so many is so similar to each other. It's crazy. It's, well, there's no need to speak and create controversy where there is none. This shouldn't even be a discussion point. It's like, you don't even want... I'm like, it's really weird considering Liverpool fans spent 4 days last week discussing a handball that wasn't a handball. Yeah, when it's the other way around, you can't even ask a question. We'll send you death threats, Terry, if you dare do so. I just want to let every Liverpool fan know who sent me a death threat. I will continue to ask questions whenever I want to. Your death threats do not scare me, because I doubt any of you would do anything about it. If you want to have my address, I'll DM it to you. You can come down to my house and we can have a little chat, but I bet you don't turn up. Just want to put that out there because I'm really not scared of an incel. It's not nothing bad's ever happened. But there we go. Not over here anyway. But the point on Man United, though, not good enough in terms of play. Two basic open goal chances missed in the last 5 minutes of the game. I want to make sure I word this in the right way. I saw a tweet earlier on. So I don't ever like to plagiarize. I saw a tweet earlier on in the day. I want rivals to answer this question for me first, rather than Neeks. I want to go find this. I retweeted it, but it's an intriguing take. This is what it's from United faithfuls. It kind of echoed how I was feeling, but I don't want to steal what they've said. There were some Man United fans already slandering Ten Hag. Let's be realistic. A top 4 finish this season was always going to be tough and still is. Lower your expectations and accept that he'll need time to build his team. It's not lowering standards permanently. It's just the reality of where we are right now. Man United currently sit.
That one is the Arsenal.
I mean, Man United currently sit 5th in the table. Most people didn't expect us to be at this height at this point. Are Man United fans the ones that are really angry with dropping those points? Are they kind of right to be that frustrated? Or is there an element of the manager's been here a short period of time? These results are going to happen after years of mediocrity. Like, as rivals, how do you look at Man United right now in terms of how we're playing and the progression that we're making?
Can I speak on this one? I think, I think with United, and I've said this for a few times in a few spaces and stuff. United, obviously, because they were such a big brand, such a big marketing, they have a lot of income. They were able to spend all this money that they have over the years. But what I feel like United tried to do, and it's probably because of your owners, really, is that they've gone for the sort of marketing approach and they've tried to buy the big names and stuff. Whereas Arsenal tried to do that for maybe a post-Wenger for maybe 2-3 years and towards the end of his reign, just to keep us in contention. But then I think we took that sort of humble pie and went, look, we're not it anymore. We're just not it. We need a like a big culture reset. We need a big sit down. We need to look internally and basically just change the squad and change the team and change the staff and everything. I feel like Man United need to do that, and the fans, because obviously Man United, with their history, the most successful club in England, they've got all the trophies and everything. We know this, right? And your fans will be annoyed if you're not getting those trophies. Completely understand that. But like you said, Terry, it's a bit of realism. You've got to have that in there, and there's clearly something wrong in the back room. And I don't necessarily think it's the players. I think it's just the culture. There's just something not right in that club, and it takes a special someone to come in. Like when we had Mikel Arteta, and people were like, "Oh, he doesn't know what he's doing," but he had a plan. He had a plan, and he had the backing of the owners, and it's now starting to come to fruition. Some people judged it. Some people wanted him out last January, at the start of last season. But if you stick with your man, you can see it. And I think Eric Ten Hag could be a good addition for Man United. Definitely, I definitely think we saw what he's done at Ajax. We know what we can do with sort of unheard of names and turn them into them. But I think it's just going to take a bit of time, and it is a case of you might just have to lower the standards a little bit. And it's not a case of, oh, but we're not where we want to be. Of course you're not. Of course you're not. But for you to get there, you have to realize where you actually are, and not where you want to be. You have to go, right, this is where we are. This is what we have to do.
I think that's an interesting point, because people always look at lowering expectations as lowering the standards forever. And me and Gunnar had this argument for about 6 months on our show. I don't think Arsenal fans have lowered their expectations permanently. They just understand that they're not going to go from where they were to challenging for the league inside a year. Like, it was almost impossible, especially with how good Liverpool and Man City were. And I think that it
was just a case of close the gap. It was just to close the gap, and then this year we've kind of sped up. We've kind of, I don't know what pill they've taken, but they've definitely sped up the process. And it is a case of that. It is a case we did that reset. We had that year out of Europe, and yes, as a fan, it was not nice to see us not in Europe, especially growing up. I never witnessed us not in Europe. So it was definitely a big culture shock and a big culture change. Some people said Mikel Arteta is not the guy, but the fact is, I could see what was there. I could see the culture was changing, the way that the players were interacting. I mean, you can see with players like Granit Xhaka, he was on his way out. He was on his way out, and now he's probably the first man on the team sheet every week, and been probably one of the best midfielders in the league, full stop. And that's because of the culture. And I think chemistry is way more important than player skill. And the what I would sort of, and people be like, oh, you've got to have great players, but look at Leicester 2016. They had good players. They had good players. They had Conte, they had Mahrez, they had Vardy, right? They're good players. But what they had is they had a solid cohesion. They were a unit. They believed, and they backed each other. And when they were in the trenches, they worked together. They didn't stick their head down. Someone's ego didn't get in their way. When Ranieri did subs, they didn't go, oh, they didn't moan about it. It was like, right, it's for the team. And chemistry is a big thing, and it can make you play out your skin. And when I watch United, I don't see that connection. I can see instances where there's certain players who are connecting. I think it was Dalot and Anthony have a little bit of a thing going on. That we're getting some things going on there. But as a whole team and a process, the way that we need to change, it's not quite there yet. But I think I can definitely get there.
It's not.
I just feel
he's not going to be there after 3 months. Yeah, sorry, I was going to say he's not going to be there after 3 months. I think it's fair. If we're looking, comparing to say Arteta, who's been there for 3 years, and obviously the better managers, Klopp, Pep, etc. It's going to take time, and I think, as you said, you've seen some stuff, which is important because it means that
it's progress.
He's getting it into some players, or even with all the players for a temporary amount of time. But I've seen enough to say we are where I expect us to be. I had our sticks at the start of the season, and there's nothing that's really said, oh, we're going to make this leap to be challenging for a title already, kind of things. Like,
but Nick, you know what I feel hasn't helped? Hindsight's a beautiful thing, but I feel like Martial not being in the team has had a big effect as well, because you've seen he's integral to the way you play. You've seen when he's been in the team, you've been very fluent in pre-season. That cameo against Everton, if you'd called it, you were very fluent. And I feel like the injury to him, I do feel, and you and Tel can rebuttal to this, but I do feel Martial, not your best, but I feel he's your most important player. I truly believe that. And I feel I'm not going to say the main reason, but he's a factor in which I don't feel you're playing as fluent. But I think him and the team, and if he can stay fit, you'll see the progression of United at maybe a faster pace than it has been. But I just feel United fans need to just be a bit realistic as well.
Let me just say, I was gonna say, so for me, Martial or a striker in terms of in the mode that Ten Hag wants is the most important. Obviously, we're trying to get a striker in the summer. One of them being the ones that obviously that you signed, Darwin Nunez. We looked at Seska, I think it was. Gakpo, who obviously plays across the front line but also plays through the middle. So a striker we knew is what Ten Hag wanted to help implement the system. But I think what I really saw yesterday more so than anything was actually the loss of Christian Eriksen or the Frankie de Jong player. The player that we were chasing all summer didn't get him. We've moved Christian Eriksen to that position. He's been integral to how we played so far this season. He's not there, and we have no adequate replacement for him. Fred is never going to be able to do the job that Eriksen can do. So I think those two positions are where, if we're talking about going forward and accelerating the process, then the next transfer window, and especially in the summer, those are the two positions that we need to really be going and getting players in 100%.
I think as well with Man United, look, we've had like 2 games running. We've had 2 good halves in the Premier League. Brilliant in the first half against Everton. Then it faded away a little bit in the second half, but we held on. First half against Newcastle, I think Newcastle had the better of the game. Second half, we didn't give them a sniff, really. They had a few they got in some good spaces late on in the second half, but we were the better team. But we're just not quite there. And the difference between us and other teams, quote unquote, rebuilds is the fact that we keep going in completely different directions every time a new manager comes in. Ten Hag is nothing like Ollie. Ollie was nothing like Jose. Jose was nothing like LVG. So you just look at the last 4 managers, the differences. I mean, you could argue that LVG and Ten Hag are definitely more closely aligned due to their sort of Dutch backgrounds. But even then, there'll be differences. That's our biggest problem right now. When I watch us play, there are so many square pegs in round holes, and we've got a number of midfielders, but are they midfielders that can play Ten Hag's style of football? No. He speaks very well, Ten Hag, about how I can coach and how I can train and how I can get people onto another level. But there's only so far. And if top managers could just coach, the world's best managers that I've watched in the Prem, Fergie, Wenger, Pep, Klopp, Jose, if they could just coach whoever they've got into being the best in the world, they wouldn't have to spend so much money in the transfer market. It's a nonsense. Like, as great as Klopp is and Pep are, they can't take an average midfielder and make them world class for a prolonged period of time. They have to go out into the transfer market and buy people. Look at the squads they inherited till now. That the difference is vast. Literally, I don't know how many actually are still here from when they took over. Klopp maybe has
Hendo, I think.
Hendo in the first team. You look at even if you look at Mikel Arteta at Arsenal, how many players currently playing now was there when he came in? Xhaka
and Holding.
Exactly. So every single manager does this, and it's going to take time. So I'm annoyed at Man United fans that are calling Ten Hag out like he's been here a long time, or like the previous manager already had us playing a very similar style of football, and this squad was ready to go to the next level. It isn't. I would say now, looking at this squad, 80% of it won't be here in 3 years' time if the club operates correctly and removes all the players that can't do it. So to be sitting 5th, I'm still quite happy with where we are in terms of that progression. Of course, I want to see over the course of the season us become better, break more teams down, win more points, lose less games. Of course, I want to see that. But I keep seeing United fans saying we can finish 4th. Listen, we're not finishing in front of Chelsea. Tottenham and Arsenal are well ahead of us right now, and we're nowhere near Man City. So to think about top 4, for me at this moment in time, is foolishness. You've got to accept where we are and put pressure on the Glazers and the owners to keep backing the manager to get us to a point where we compete. That's where all Man United fan energy should be, is on the way the football club is run, as opposed to everything we're seeing on the pitch. Because if you run the club well, it will manifest itself on the pitch almost organically. But we always focus on the end result, and we never look at we never look at what's going into the ingredients that are being put into it. That's the most important bit. Go to the root cause problems and find out what the issues there are. And that's how Man United fix themselves. And I know people hate it because, that's boring. Why do you want to blame the real reasons? I know they're boring. I know they're rubbish, but that's the most important thing for us, I think.
Terry, that was my point. That if I had asked you and Neitz at the start of the season, 9 games in, would you accept being 5th? You probably would have bit my hand off, because it's a slow progression. So when United fans are complaining, I understand you want to win every game and you felt you're hard done by yesterday, but if you actually ask yourself 9 games in, you're 5th, I think 2 points from 4th. Correct me if I'm wrong. A point or 2.
3, I think. So it's
Well,
three.
with 3 points. I mean, if we beat, and we've gotten to the previews later, we beat Tottenham on Wednesday, we will only be like 4 points behind a team that have had their greatest ever start to a Premier League campaign.
Exactly.
And
then the complexion just changes.
Points wise, we're not a million miles away. However, what I would say is when you look at the sustainability in terms of our performances, how we control games, I don't think we can catch those teams this year, but we need to be etching away at those areas. And I think you mentioned Martial. Martial would be brilliant for this system under Ten Hag. He just can't stay fit. And all these things are important. Rashford isn't a proper number 9. That chance yesterday at the end, that needed to be falling to a Haaland, a Mo Salah, a Harry Kane. That needed a killer that needed a killer on the end of it. And we don't have that up front. I mean, ironically, Ronaldo would have scored that chance. However, some people say he shouldn't have come off. He may not have been able to physically have got himself into the right position throughout the way we built the game up. Because when we did, again, we look better when he went off. And I love Ronaldo, but we look better when he's off the football pitch because there's more fluidity, there's more energy, there's more speed in our play. I love Ronaldo, but man is just old now. Let me just go to some of these super chats that have come through. The ref didn't cost us the game. Our missed chances did, but Terry, did you see the whistle video with Newcastle players? He clearly touches the ball after.
Yeah, so Ronaldo scored the goal.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And if you actually see the video, the referee blows the whistle and the player
pass back to the keeper
straight away. So effectively, once the referees blow that whistle, the play can resume. The moment the player kicks the ball, the play has resumed. So in reality, it should have been a goal.
Yeah,
now, people are saying, "Oh, the ref's hand was still up." So okay, why? What's the point of the whistle? What does the whistle signify?
That's one of those circumstances where the referee for me was too quick to blow his whistle because VAR then couldn't intervene. That was another one of those scenarios where the referee's just got to let it go, then blow his whistle, and then go, right, what? And almost say, what happened there? This is the point of VAR. It was meant to allow those circumstances to happen. And I remember when United scored a goal like that against Tottenham at Old Trafford, Lewis Nani scored it. So a handball was given, and the referee went to give a free kick, but then the referee just said, play on. He said, play on. Gomez then started slowly bringing the ball out the box with his feet and was sort of looking at what to do. And Nani was standing almost very close to him. And I remember I could hear Paul Scholes saying, take the ball off him and score. And Nani's looking at Scholes like, what are you talking about? And then the crowd started hearing it and it took the ball and he scored. And then the ref just let it happen, went to the linesman and said, what happened? He goes, well, you said play on. And Gomez just stood there with the ball. The goal stood. And that's what should have happened. Again, that should have happened yesterday.
No, correct.
It's crazy.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Robbie Keane do it one year as well? I might be going crazy, but I think Robbie Keane did it one year for Spurs. He kind of came.
I know where the goalkeeper threw onto the floor.
Yeah, and he kind of went.
I can't remember if it was a free kick situation. It might have been.
No, that was just from a normal the goalies didn't see him there. It's a little bit different because it wasn't from a free kick, but I hear you. This super chat says VAR should only be used when the ref and officials are far from the incident. This will sort out the problem of watching over and over again. We have to trust the refs. Real-time problem solved. Listen, I'm up for any solution as long as it's consistent. My view is even with things like what's a clear and obvious error. So this is the point. I think the easiest way is for us to hear what's said. So for instance, if the referee says, I saw the contact, I just don't think it's enough to be a foul, I think we'd all stop moaning as much. But the point is, if he says, I didn't see any contact on Sancho, or the replay shows there is, that is obviously a clear and obvious mistake because you thought you saw something that didn't exist. Or you didn't see it.
That's the one thing I like about rugby, to be fair. I wish they had that, they mic up the refs. If we could hear what the refs say, I think that would be with so much clarity.
100
as well.
Yeah, they do.
110% they do. There's another super chat here says, evening Terry and everyone. Neeks, mighty Scotland beat the small West Indies in the T20. Did they?
They did, yeah.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
We need to beat Zimbabwe and Ireland to qualify for the tournament properly. And Scotland is supposedly the easiest team in the group. I guess
even Cook Islands are rated better than them, I swear.
Yeah,
literally. Now, I know, but to go back before we push into the next button. I know we keep saying, did Man U play bad yesterday? Be devil's advocate. Would you not say it's progress from Newcastle to be able to come to Old Trafford and get some points out of the game? Yeah. I mean, because Newcastle, they're They could potentially push top four if they continue.
To add on to that, missing two massive players in ASF, Alisson Maximum and Isaac as well. Like they are two big players, and to go there, I think we're doing Newcastle a bit of a disservice here because that's a big result for them.
No, the thing is, I was expecting it to be a tough game. Like Newcastle have played well this season. They went to City and City came to them, but they drew 3-3, and they gave City.
Again, they outplayed them. They outplayed them the whole game pretty much.
One of the toughest tests they've had, if not the toughest this season, and should have won that game. So we always knew it was going to be a tough game, or any realistic Man United fan. That's why it's like I just don't understand. If we were sitting in Liverpool's position and you were sitting in ours, for argument, so we just switched positions, I still wouldn't be saying Ten Hag out, because I know that we are 9 games in to the Premier League season. To even if we was in an Arsenal's position, I wouldn't be like giving this a lifetime contract. It's too early to judge a manager who you just got in the summer to say he is the one or he's not going to be the one.
Yeah,
let it just go and see, and let's go with the process. Because right now I've already resigned to saying, listen, if we don't win anything, we don't win anything. But I just want to see how this ends up. If it ends up bad and we have to sack him after 3 years, so be it. But we have to get to that point where we know that it was the right decision or the wrong decision. We can't be doing this half-hearted thing.
I agree, guys. I need to move this on just because audience-wise, the audience are getting annoyed that we're not moving on to the next subject. It's been nearly half an hour. I do need to move it on. I could talk United all day, but the audience, honestly, couldn't give two about Man United that much more. So the next talking point, welcome David, by the way, that we're going to move on to, as voted for by the viewers, is Liverpool versus Man City. And the element of shock result in the sense of most people predicted a Man City win, but Liverpool showed up, and it was, for me, it was a Jurgen Klopp masterclass in terms of change his system, change his style, absorb the pressure. Haaland kept in a back pocket of Van Dijk, and it was actually good to see Liverpool respond in such a way. But from your point of view, Rom, I mean, how are you feeling 24 hours later? And did you like the subtle adjustments to your system by Klopp?
I absolutely loved it. And I've always said, right, I think we only get away with playing in a pragmatic way against City. But I've always said there is no harm in playing a bit more pragmatic in the grand scheme of things to get a result. There are elite managers do this, and I've been calling for this for weeks. And some fans will say, we're at home, we can't approach the game like that. But if it gets you a result, there's no harm in it. When I saw the lineup and I saw Joe Gomez and James Milner, I just thought it'd be a bloodbath. I'm going to be honest. I didn't even think we could salvage a draw. But them two were excellent yesterday. And I think playing Salah through the middle, we all know. I know we've brought in Darwin Nunez, so Salah was instructed by Linders and Klopp to be more of a touchline winger, more get chalk on your boots, the more traditional like Iron Robin or Damien Duff type ilk. But we all know, get him closer to the goal, he scores goals. It is not rocket science. And I think Klopp putting him through the middle with Joe on the left and Javier in the right, it was excellent for him. And you saw he was a constant threat to them. And I just want to give praise to Joe Gomez though, because you know, certain players have that game where you think he's not going to come back from that. I thought after Napoli, regardless what he's done in the past, I didn't feel he had this performance backing him, but he proved all of the doubters wrong. The way he was cutting off the passing lines, because I think, even though he won the game, I think Bernardo and Gundogan were excellent. If anything, for me, Phil Foden was more of a shadow in himself. I know he scored the disallowed goal, but I think, I'm going to throw this out. I think Milner pocketed Phil Foden. I honestly believe that. Yes, he had a lot of the ball, but his productivity wasn't there. Productivity wasn't there at all. For me, it was more Gundogan and Bernardo Silva controlling that game. I think Milner did an excellent job. However, I don't feel this is sustainable.
Question. Let me just jump in, though. A question. Was that because your team played 10, 15 yards deeper? Yes, therefore, there was more protection? Because that's been the biggest bugbear watching Liverpool for me for the past however many. As a football fan, I watch it and go, right, everyone knows how to expose your high line, but yet your manager continues to play it. Yeah. It's, you know, that meme of the Cheeto that's keeping the door locked, like that's the security. That's how I kind of viewed your back line, and everyone knew how easy it was to open your door, and Klopp never changed it. So he drops it a little bit deeper. Do you now want to see more of that against dangerous teams, especially dangerous teams on the counter-attack?
I would love to see that against West Ham. However, us as Liverpool fans know Klopp won't do that. And just to strengthen what you said, Tel, like if we play deep, it makes sense, because one thing where we've got success the last 3-4 years is our high line, because we had the legs to press. We're not even pressing anymore, and it was evident in the 2-1 loss against United. I don't know if you've not seen the still images of just the middle looks like a donut. There was no one in the middle. So the whole point of playing a high line is that your midfield and your attack press. We're not that pressing giant anymore. So it made sense for Klopp to drop back. And some Liverpool fans have been calling for it. And now it happened. You saw the performance we put in. Another thing where I think Pep shouldn't have done this is egging on our crowd. You don't do that at Anfield. That from when I saw him do that, I think it galvanized anyone. We saw Arteta do it last season, and I just think that wasn't a smart move by Pep at all.
I get that. I wanted to ask you all as well about Man City in this game. So I've seen people talking about this online today. Are they becoming a little bit one-dimensional in terms of all their play now is just to get the ball to Haaland? We get why. Whether people like hearing this or not, I'll keep saying it. The best 22-year-old finisher European football has ever seen statistically. No one's ever done what he's done. But have they become a little bit too predictable with everything to get the ball to Haaland? Get the ball to Haaland.
Why are we talking about Haaland? He didn't even play yesterday. Let's focus on the players who are actually on the pitch. Maybe.
Now, I would agree. I would agree with you, Terry. Honestly, because on that, I mean, it's funny you said a lot of people didn't predict that score. I actually predicted Liverpool to win 1-0, and I've got the receipts. And I said, yeah, I did. I said Liverpool win 1-0. And I said the way that they'll do it, because this is, and it's exactly what links into what Terry was saying. All you have to do is choke Haaland's supply. Haaland is a finisher. He's a serial finisher. If he gets the opportunities, he might get 1 or 2 in a game, and he might not score them. But if you give him 10, he will score one. Yeah. He will score one. So what I think Liverpool did really effectively well was win that midfield battle, and they disrupted the channels for them to pinging clean balls. Now, De Bruyne got 1 or 2 opportunities to get a ball in there, but if you looked at Gomez, the way he was positioning and the way Van Dijk was playing for his life to hold that record, man. Like he was out of his skin to do that.
Just to interject, right? I know Tel said at the start we pocketed Haaland. In my humble opinion, I would say we nullified. I wouldn't say we pocketed him, because for me, pocket is when pocket for me is when you don't get an absolute sniff. He had two opportunities that day. I just think the back four as a collective did very well, because for me, Thiago did a job on De Bruyne. If you're going to speak about the phrase pocketed, I'll say KDB got pocketed, because I think Thiago was on it. Do you remember Herrera on Hazard a couple of years ago when he was just, that video where he was just...
I agree with you. And this is what annoyed me when Man United played them a few weeks ago. They were the favourites by far. But we were so open. It was almost like we went, right, we had a few good games. Let's go toe-to-toe with them. And we weren't ready for that yet. And we got smashed. And you guys didn't, even with Haaland's chances, there was that header at the back post.
Yeah.
The angle was cute. Okay, very, very acute. You have the where he had the touch in the edge of your box in the second half, left foot shot. He had to rush the shot because there was very little space because you were compact. And I was very impressed. And I watched quite a bit of the game back this morning, and Liverpool were just, dare I say it, you were very, very pragmatic in the game. You were very hard to break down. You were very compact. And I was really impressed with Jurgen Klopp, because I think too often him and Pep refused to change when they had to, and that's what ended up costing them games or points or titles. And it was good to see. But if you revert back to type next game, like this whole is it really a turn corner, or is it because maybe?
Can I just say? I think, and someone in the chat said, I think it's Pearl away. He goes, no City player got pocketed. Pep just done a madness again, and I'm not going to say it's completely all on him. But Pep has to take responsibility for this.
He loves changing tactics on big games.
You said that Foden got pocketed by Milner, and then you said Gundogan and Bernardo Silva were kind of controlling the game. That means the whole game was on the left-hand side, because you had Milner there, and Pep thought, we're going to exploit this. So he saw the Milner, and he looked at it as a weakness and thought, they had 50% of their attacks down the left-hand side. Man City are usually I thought that was Man United's heat map. That Man City are much more balanced across. They spread the pitch. They attack both wings with their fullbacks and their wingers, and then De Bruyne has all that space to operate. I think Gary Neville touched on it as well. De Bruyne usually and Carragher, he usually gets so much space, and the moment he got two opportunities for that space, the crossing for Haaland, the ball through for the disallowed goal. But because everything was concentrated down the left-hand side, his best player, who is Kevin De Bruyne, and the usual flow of play wasn't allowed to happen. He went free at the back with the wing backs, and it was like, you are the form team right now, especially in this fixture. Liverpool are so off form. Why are you changing your tactics when Liverpool and they're changing their tactics? So do what you need to. And so I think Liverpool did well, but Pep. And the thing is, every time Pep changes his tactics and does a mad thing, it always goes wrong. You might as well leave it. Just leave it.
You know what, Lee? It's sorry to cut you on. It's an uncomfortable conversation, but it's funny how we drop a few yards back, and I don't want to chuck him into that and Trent doesn't play, because when Trent did come on, they started to look even more menacing, and this is an uncomfortable conversation for our fans. For me, I think we should have this approach up until the World Cup, just to get consecutive wins, and so the complexion of our season just looks a bit brighter. But when Trent did come on, because of his natural ability to go forward, and Milner and Gomez kind of knew their role, even Harvey Elliott, he was kind of nullified in what we prodded him on, his dribbling, his passing abilities. He was just told to do a job. And even when you go back to Thiago, there were some Liverpool fans saying he was poor. He wasn't poor. In what we applauded him on, he was, because I think his ball retention was the greatest. He was misplacing passes, but he was told to do a job, and he did that job. And for me, I wouldn't say a player is poor because of that. He just carried out an instruction, and it was to our benefit. So I was very impressed, and we're yet to see. I would throw Trent back in, but not the West Ham game, because West Ham are coming in a bit of form. I would put Trent back in the Nottingham Forest game. I think he still needs to be left out the team up until that game.
I think him dropping Trent was also another big part. And I know they said he was injured for 3. Listen, I don't think he was ever injured. I think he was being rested personally. And being injured is a very nice way of saying you're dropped. But that improved you. But this comment here from Sean is important. It says, Terry, we was pragmatic, but we had by far the best chances. Yeah. But this has been happening in the Premier League for a long time. You go back to Leicester winning the league. They're pragmatic in most games. They had the best chances. Possession doesn't always mean you've dominated. If your opponents let you have the ball because they think you're more vulnerable with it than without, you get boxers that do this. Floyd Mayweather was the master at it. I'm going to let you be the aggressor in the fight. You'll maybe even look better than me in the first 2 or 3 rounds, but I'll eventually work out how you operate, and I'm going to pick you off whenever you're open. And Liverpool did it brilliantly yesterday. The amount of times they were able to counter against them was crazy. So yeah, they deserve nothing but credit there. Patrick, welcome to the stream as well. Welcome.
Terry,
David,
can I just make one last point on that game, right? It's going to get swept under the carpet because we had a positive result. But had we not won that game, Darwin Nunez would have had a lot of blood on his hand, because and the thing is, because of the fee we paid for him, no one's going to accept this. But I think he should more be an impact player. And I know that sounds insane. We've just spent 64 million, 85 million, whatever you want to say on this player, right? But I think with Salah starting up top and Bobby in the 10, the chemistry is more there. It's more fluent because he's come on and he should have squared it to Carvalho, squared it to Salah. And what we applaud him on finishing, you chip it over the keeper. It's that, come on, just place it round and at least get the shot on target. Don't try and chip the keeper from that position. And it was really frustrating because it's that, because the result, we had a positive result. No one really going to speak about it. But had that result not gone our way, he would have really seriously got scrutinized. But I think with all that being said, I think he did well when he came on.
When he didn't pass it to Salah, I was like, you know what? I want City to score because he deserves that.
That was mental. This guy's ranked 25th on the Ballon d'Or, you know.
I mean, Leeds, you did say he would score
25th.
You did say he'd score more goals than Haaland. So,
David, is the season finished?
Okay,
I will see you in May.
If Haaland didn't play any more games, is Darwin getting 15?
I'll see you in May.
I don't think so.
I'll see you in May. Come May, right? Neeks is going to be missing like the West Indies cricket team, bro. Like he's going to be gone. Man's going on a sabbatical. Man ain't going to be around. Yeah, look, I get where you're coming from there. We're going to come back to City and Liverpool a little bit later because obviously we're going to have a bit of a title challenge contender debate. So I don't want to talk about that part right now. there was a bit of controversy in the game, though. Over the, I mean, I've had a lot of controversy from it. I have counted today six threats of violence and death for asking the question, do you think it was a foul? Where Haaland pulled the man's shirt down, pulled on Fabinho's shirt. Madness is, I said 100% it was a foul, right? Yeah, I'm still, and some of the messages have been weird. It's like, how dare you try and create controversy where none exists? I'm like, this honestly sounds like communists. Like, legitimately, it sounds like real communists are coming for me. Sorry. What is it they call each other? Comrade. I'm sorry, comrade. But we know, I think we all agree it was a foul, right? We all agree it was a foul. Cool. Because I don't want to go down.
A little was a foul, yes.
Okay, yeah, I think it is as well. The bit, though, that I feel, and I haven't said this very many times, but where I think Jamie O'Hara got this right today is the referee went into both the dressing rooms before the game and said, pulls, little pushes, little nudges, little niggly fouls, we are not going to give in this game. There was a push in the back of one of the City players by Milner near the corner flag at one point. Yeah. Normally they give them, that wasn't given, right? I'm not saying it isn't a foul by the letter of the law. What I'm stating is, it makes a mockery of the referee allowing all those challenges to go, because essentially what they did is they let every challenge go until it led to something substantial, and they brought it back and said, actually, no, you can't do that. That's where I get the controversy.
That's on the ref, because the ref went to the screen and he could have said, no, I'm sticking to it because that's how I've refereed the game. He decided, again, it's the VAR. I don't know what the VAR says to them, but it's like, you should be strong enough to say, no, the way I've managed this game, I'm not giving a foul for that, because I think it was so soft. I think it was so soft. However, for me, it shouldn't have been a goal anyway, because I think Alisson did have two hands on the ball when he was kicked out of his hand. So I think it should have been disallowed anyway, but not for that. Because if it gets disallowed for that, it sets a precedent. Because then, and when another decision happened this week, and it's like, oh, well, Fabinho was pulled for, and this person was pulled for that, and it was two different decisions. I think for me, that should not. When they went to screen, I thought they were going to look at the kicking out the keeper's hand. I couldn't believe they overturned.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree 100%. Like, I think, but this is why, though, I said the other week when I think Mark Goldbridge said it on Talk Sport, you should referee big games differently. I just think, I don't like it to talk like this, but how dare you say that? Like, so, but basically, and what I mean by that is it's not a dig at Mark's suggestion. It's think about it in its fullest sense. It would mean that a goal like that might stand for Liverpool or City in a big game, but when a Brighton player does it to a Palace player on the same day, they disallow it because that's
a rivalry right there. That is a
proper rivalry. That is, I think, it's such a small rivalry in comparison. I don't even think about it. But it's almost like you either got to let those things go, or you do it within the letter by the letter of the law, and that's what frustrated me about it. It was a great game. It was a throwback, letting all these tackles and that go. But as soon as a goal scored and there was one of those tackles involved or one of those challenges involved, it wasn't given, and that's my issue with it. If that makes sense, it was just. Well, what are we doing here? Are we letting them challenges go, or are we not? We saw it earlier on in the season. Man United, you could argue the same thing. I thought what Odegaard did was a foul on Christian Eriksen. A week, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, same thing on Casemiro against Everton. Referee says play on. So which is it? Which are you going to allow? Because they're so similar. I don't understand how you can see them as different. For me, they're either both fouls or they're both not. And like that's where the consistency's got to come in. And that's not a VAR problem. That's a refereeing issue. Like, as far as I'm concerned, it's referees that have got to do that.
At the end of the day as well, you got to remember, like, football is a contact sport. Like, you can't get too nitpicky on a tiny little foul. Like, on tiny little touches, I think there has to be some leeway in some sense, because it's like you can get sort of accidental sort of taps and it knocks them over. And then when you get into like VAR and the slow-mo, it looks a lot worse. But when in like real time, if it looked like dangerous, foul. If it looked sort of insidious, foul. But if it's like a bit of it's a contact sport. You know what I mean? Like,
and you also why at the same time, why are we asking for consistency from different people? I don't get it. I'm sat here like, you know what? I'm just gonna let them do what they want now. There's no point in me. There's literally no point in. There's no point in me beefing anyone.
Well,
there's no point. There's genuinely no point.
By the bare minimum, you can get consistency from one referee in one match. Andy Taylor in that match was inconsistent within the 90 minutes based on that one decision.
Yes,
you
but again,
we're going to give it all.
We're speaking about Anthony Taylor then we speak about Michael Oliver, we speak about this, we speak about that. It's like we know that they're bad. Okay.
No, Michael Oliver is good. What are you talking
when
about?
are we going to accept that? When are we going to accept?
Respect Michael
Okay, cool, whatever. Right, okay. But when he screws over Man United or Liverpool, I don't want to hear it. Then.
No, Michael
but
Oliver's my point is
that it keeps happening. It keeps happening, and we're all sat here saying we want consistency, we want consistency, we want consistency. Clearly, they're not applying those rules. So why do we keep asking for that thing when it's not what's being applied? Quite clearly, what's happened is that Anthony Taylor has said, when I'm refereeing, this is the rules. However, when VAR's refereeing, these are the rules. He obviously probably didn't say what VAR's going to intervene if whatever, but clearly VAR just sticks to what it does.
Yeah.
VAR is just what it is.
I get
so
VAR.
you can't change
VAR. Listen, the goal line technology, offsides. I feel like they have got that perfect. They're objective decisions. I did get called out in the barrage of abuse I've had today from certain Liverpool fans for asking the question. A lot have said, why are you asking questions about objective decisions? I'm like, bruv, fouls are not objective. They're quite literally in the law of the game. They say the word subjective. So you're always going to have this debate, but you can still get an air of consistency. And that's what VAR should be for. VAR knows, and the referees all know what decisions have happened in the last few weeks. They know what the hot topics are. So when you see it again, even if the ref in real time that says something, is listen, we've given 6 penalties for that same thing in the last month. That's the consistency. Go and give it. That's how you create it, in my opinion, because the VAR isn't in real time. He hasn't got the crowd and the pressure. He's literally on a truck on the M25 somewhere chilling. Do you know what I mean? With the Greg's sausage pasty or something.
The point that David makes is, I think, is valid. They say the referee makes a final decision, but in reality, VAR is like the high court and the referee or the county court, whichever one's, I can't remember which one's higher. But VAR, they say the referee is the final decision, but 99.9% of the times it's the VAR decision that overrides the referee's decision. So they just need to come out and say it. VAR is whatever the ref wants to do, that's up to him.
Yeah.
When it comes to big decisions, VAR is going to make
VAR is the one.
It's not lying to us, isn't it?
No, that's it. I meant sausage and baked bean pasty. I haven't eaten in there for a while. Guy, what's this guy? He says that isn't abuse, is it, Terry? No, I didn't say that someone asking me that question. I said amidst all the abuse, not that is abuse. Very, very weird comment there, but there we go. It's not my fault they did it. Don't victim blame, please. It's not my fault. People have been sending me horrible messages. Don't blame me for it. You know, I thought victim blaming was also illegal these days. So don't do it to me, please. It's very, very offensive. I might cry. I might. There's also another controversy in the game. Report supposedly a Mo Salah handball. This is a madness, right? This is what happens though when a controversial thing happens in a game. I've had about 10 City fans DMing me saying it was handball. They've sent me so many screenshots. I did look at the footage, and for me, it does look like it hits his hand in terms of the way the camera angle goes from both sides. But there's no change of direction in the ball. The ball doesn't spin differently. It doesn't hit Mo Salah's arm. It just looks like it might. But 100%, it for me was just the case of 100% just no, City fans, stop clutching at straws. Your manager got it wrong. Your team let you down. Masterclass from Klopp. They beat you fair and square. You move on from that. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. Viewers, make sure you're smashing some like buttons for us. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. Thank you. Someone said it's photoshopped. No, it is real. This here, Jota and Elliott were unsung heroes. They ran their socks off and were immense in helping at the back as well. Also, we were entertaining despite soaking up so much pressure. The game never got boring. I mean, I heard a rumor that Spurs fans loved it. It was like a busman's holiday with no pressure. They loved it. They really, really did. Sorry, hang on, Patrick. You must defend me now. I should get called out as being a bad Spurs fan. Sorry, defend Spurs. Defend your honor.
I'm going to touch on that when we get into the whole Spurs thing. Don't worry. I've got a lot to say. Don't worry about that.
Terry's comment section feels like Americans talking politics, too aggressive and violent for no apparent reason, talking the truth. Do you know what, though? I used to think like the comment sections on YouTube were like mad until I started learning about what they do in the gaming world and how the things they do to each other and say to each other, SWAT and all this. And I'm like, that's why it's kind of toxic. Like comment sections are literally toxic. As is quite nice, all things being considered. So far, the SWAT team have not been called to my house midstream because I've been, I don't know, because they do the mad stuff, you know. Like mad, they find out someone's address, they ring up like the police and say, Terry Flewers at blah, 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 blah. Here's his postcode. He's keeping people hostage in his house at gunpoint. Like, they do this, and then SWAT turn up at houses whilst people are live streaming and stuff. It's mad.
That's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, VPN.
Yeah, well, that's why you should have your VPN so no one can track you. There we go. Ollie Ball is underrated. Klopp used the whole playbook. It's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. It is true. The ref should never say that he will allow stuff before the game. It just encourages the players to get away with more and more. Yeah, I agree. That's also true. That's also true.
Because even Bernardo on Salah, that was stonewall. That how that was given was crazy. That's what you see in a WWE ring.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Moving on to the next point of the night. They did it again. They're 4 points clear at the top. Arsenal Football Club are just on fire right now. My second team are killing it. I'm going to go to Monty in a minute about this. Patrick, what are you saying? Arsenal now 4 points clear at the top. They got through their first real tough away test of the season with a good win.
Fourth clean sheet away as well.
Fourth clean sheet away, as you said there. Saka getting towards those world-class numbers now. Arsenal, real deal, Patrick?
I don't know. What do you constitute as a real deal? Like, I think City will still walk the league. So if Arsenal finish second or third and that 15 points behind the eventual winners, what do we call that? It's not really a title challenge, is it? So, there's that. Secondly, as well, and I said it on Twitter, like, Arsenal fans, they need, they got a lot of shame, or they got no shame. I don't know which way you want to look at it, because that was embarrassing. Well, not embarrassing. It was a horrendous performance. It was horrible. Leeds are not really a good team, and they should have definitely won that game. Arsenal were horrible from front to bottom, top to bottom, front to back, whatever you want to call it. And I just see Arsenal fans then switching the narrative, and now they're talking about resilience and, we dug deep and this was the first. But when Tottenham were doing that, all I hear is nonsense all day long. And when Chelsea do it, it's considered boring. So it's like, which one is it, innit? Which one is it? But
Patrick, can I say just one thing on that?
Yeah.
With Arsenal, that was the first time this season we've ever been put under pressure like that. With Tottenham, when I've watched, and I do watch you guys.
It's not the first time. It's the first game. That's the first game we've had 95 minutes where we've been subpar. We've been put under pressure for 10-15 minutes, sure. Like the Liverpool game, we had little 10-minute minutes, but for 45 minutes for an entire half and to be second best in the game and still come out with a result, that was the first time in the season.
Do you know
Tottenham have done it multiple times this season.
How many teams play 95 minutes really badly? Very often.
No,
not
exactly.
many.
It's
not many. Most teams will at least have like 20 minutes where they might get a chance where they score a goal, or they'll dominate the possession.
We have not been under pressure like that. We've not been under pressure like that.
No,
we haven't received 16 shots.
That was the first game where I watched Arsenal. That was the first game I watched Arsenal and said, "You should have lost by about 3 today. You should have honestly."
We could have been 3-0 up at first half.
They should have been out of sight. But Patrick Bamford is. There's a reason why Chelsea didn't keep him.
To be fair, though, Patrick Bamford's penalty though shouldn't have even happened because it was offside. But it's karma. It was karma. I was just karma. It is. But like on that game, do you know what? It was a poor game. It's a poor game. People asking me, "Are you worried?" Not really, because that was one game. That was the one game where we've actually been proper under the cosh, right? We were the second best team, all hands up, and all credit to Leeds because do you know what? They played phenomenal and they were very unlucky to not come out of a point, and all hands up say that. Now, if we continue to play like that, I think that's where we will have a discussion and be like, okay, right, this is a bit worrying. But we've got a couple of days off now. We've got the Southampton next game. We can come back from that. And if we go back to where we are, then I wouldn't be too worried about it. Because it's not like we're too reliant on a single player. I mean, our goals scored by our players are very sparse and spread throughout the team. But if you look at, say, with Tottenham, just to point out statistics, you've scored, I think it's 21 games this year, and 9 of them have come from Kane. Whereas if you go to ours, it's like 24 games, and we've had 24 goals. We've got Gabby scored 4, Saka scored 4, Jesus has scored 5, Erdegaard scored 3, Xhaka scored 3. Do you know what I mean? It's more spread.
If you've got a top striker, then that's going to be the case. The same with City. Haaland.
No, I get you. But what I've noticed, what I've noticed, and this is what Jamie was saying, Jamie O'Hara, and everyone, Gary Neville keeps saying it, when Arsenal get an injury, we've had Mo Elneny, Zinchenko, and Emerson thrown out.
Elneny, no, come on.
No, but mate,
I was with you until you said Elneny.
You know,
no. But the fact is,
let's not do this.
No, but the fact is, like, but it's just fact.
You know what
it's
is money? They mean if you get an injury to key players. But what I don't get about that notion is
Zinchenko and Emerson thrown are two key players.
That can happen to any of our team.
Mate, Mo Elneny is a baller, bro. Have you seen the guys like? Have you seen the guy?
I know you're keeping a straight face, but you
but like,
guys, one at a time. Sorry, what are you saying, Patrick? Sorry.
I'm saying I was with him. Everything he said was legit until he said Elneny. I'm like, come on, man. He's not a key figure for you guys. He's an okay player, but come on.
He's a step-in midfielder. He's the guy that he's the one that gives our starters a rest. But we don't have that at the moment. We only have Sambi the Congo who can come in. We have to have Erdegaard in a makeshift 8 in the centre, and we have to change it because we haven't got Mo Elneny to do that. So people say, "Oh, we're only one injury away," but when it's just quite ironic coming from Jamie O'Hara. If you're doing if buts and maybes, if Kane gets injured, half of your goals are gone. They're gone.
I do think the notion that, like, I even heard him say on Sky Sports yesterday, well, if they get their main 3 players out injured, what are Arsenal going to do? But why is that not being said about everybody else?
City can get an injury. We're not the only team that have players in the World Cup.
It doesn't make that comment doesn't make sense. And I feel like Arsenal didn't deserve to win in terms of performance yesterday.
No,
but equally, we also know that if Man City win a game like that, they're praised. Liverpool for the past 4 or 5 years, they've had a lot of games like that where you think, how did even their title-winning season, that must have happened 5 or 6 times to Liverpool. Arsenal do it, and it's a sign of I knew they weren't a real team. Maybe if they perform, and then I saw O'Hara, and I've seen other Spurs fans say, well,
Gary Neville as well. Oh.
I've seen a lot of Spurs fans turn around and say, well, why when we aren't playing brilliantly are we not being praised for our wins? And I explained this on Saturday night. The way Spurs were against Everton was brilliant.
Yeah,
not scintillating football, but the way they were against Everton was brilliant because they barely gave Everton a chance, especially that second half. Nothing. That's when people talk about sustainable versus unsustainable. I think it's been diluted because it's been overused. What I mean by it is, if you perform like that in 10 games, how many are you actually going to win? If you're conceding like Spurs have been for large parts of this season, between 12 to 15 opportunities on your goal per game every game, you ain't winning a league title. You can't.
Look at the Wolves game as well. They struggled there.
It's simply impossible to do that. Against Everton, you didn't. Yes, there was those 2 little counters from mistakes that they had against you they could have scored from. Outside of that, you let them do nothing. So if Spurs start performing like that in 80%, 90% of their games, my view of Spurs is going to be different. It's going to be, this team is legitimately dangerous at the top echelon of the game. You're already good enough to make top 4. We know that. But what we're now discussing and debating as football fans is who's going to be in this title race. And I think for Arsenal, this was the one game they've played this season where I felt they were getting peppered. Even when Man United beat them, we weren't giving them a peppering. We weren't getting in behind as regularly as Leeds were. The response is now, what are they then going to do after this, as an example? I feel like Arsenal were lucky to get away with the 3 points.
Last season, we would have lost that game.
Yeah. Lucky to get away with the 3 points, but I think it also shows a resilience within them. And Ramsdale pulled off great saves, and Lloris and David De Gea and Ederson and Alisson. How many times have these goalies been praised for saving their team points or winning their team 3 points? Yet when it's Arsenal, no one gives them any credit.
Sometimes you've got to ride your luck, No,
but I think it's a fair analysis to say, for example, say Arsenal play badly. Let's say they lost the game, or when they lose their next game. You think, okay, this might be Arsenal dropping off. They might lose 2 in a row. This might be Arsenal dropping off. Because history is best qualified to reward research. What have Arsenal done recently to prove that they can last in a title race? If Man United was sitting in Liverpool's position right now, if Arsenal was sitting in Liverpool's position right now, if Tottenham was sitting in Liverpool's position right now, nobody will be saying that team can finish top in the top 4, let alone top 2, like some are still saying, potentially they can still come second. But because Liverpool's proved in the last 5 years that we know that they've got the quality to do X, Y, Z. Equally, if Brighton was sitting top of the league right now, like Leicester were in 2015-16, or was it 15-16, nobody was saying nobody expected them to continue to go and win the league until it was like you know what, they're actually going to do it, because there was no evidence that they could do it. So I think it's fair that people are doubting Arsenal, because Arsenal haven't proved since 2000.
Mate, let them doubt. I say let them doubt. Let them doubt.
No, they haven't proved since 2008 that they can actually go in the title race. Unless you say 2016, they were in the title race with Leicester, I guess. But they fell away. So I think it's fair. I think it's fair.
But what you've just said is fair. But the things that they're saying are nothing to do if they haven't proven it.
If Liverpool win or Man City win a game like that, you say it's a sign of champions, because they've actually been champions. It's not a sign of champions if Arsenal win a game like that.
No, I'm not saying it is a sign of champions. I'm simply stating that it doesn't. It also doesn't mean that I told you they weren't that good. And I think for me, it's almost people are just so desperate. Listen, and as a Man United fan, if Arsenal fall off, I don't care. Like, I don't care about my opinion being right. If I cared about my opinion being right, I would have left YouTube a hell of a long time ago. As certain people abusing me last night were saying that I get everything I ever say wrong. And I'm like, well, 4.3 million people a month isn't bad for someone who's always wrong. Thank you. Get back to your dead, dusted channel, bruv. You know who I'm talking about, because we had a little chat today, didn't we, mate? But I'm going to town on these people nowadays.
Can I just say one thing, Teddy? Can I just say one thing? I don't think, from a Spurs fan, like from a Spurs perspective, I just think, Arsenal, cool, they got the win. Well done to them. I don't think Spurs fans are really going all out and saying, we told you so, this and that, because we all know Arsenal are a good team. Like I said, I had them in the top 4 from before a ball was kicked. But it's just like, for me, I'm just like the irony. They've been praised all day. They play scintillating football, all of this, and then they go and do that. So it's just like they're human, just like us all. So just chill out a bit with all of the respect until they earn it, like Neeks is saying. Also, that's all I'm going to say.
Question for you. So go on, David, and I'll go back to my question. Go on.
I was going to say, I never want to hear from any Arsenal fan ever again the refs are against us. I don't want to hear it. I do not want to hear it.
To be fair, they were right. It was correct. No, because the VAR decisions were correct. But this is where the agenda starts. When it's correct, but it's for Arsenal,
before you carry on with your point, let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. My point is, okay, think about this logically, okay? Think about, just think about this. Okay. Gabriel somehow got away with not giving away a penalty, right? So his red card.
He was fouled.
Okay,
so
hold on. Okay, again, let me finish. Okay,
go on.
My point is, if his red card has been rescinded, what has he been booked for? Because he got a foul.
Yeah, retaliation. The initial foul.
Retaliation in the law is a red card. There's no yellow card for retaliation. That doesn't exist.
It depends on the grievance of it.
How has he got a yellow card? Explain.
Mate, you got to go for the whole game. The whole game was a shit show. The whole game.
You just said VAR got everything exactly 100% correct. Why can't you prove this point right then?
No. I would say the decisions were correct, and in regards to one of them, it wasn't. If you go to the first penalty, it was offside. They should never even had it.
What do you mean it was offside? No.
Watch it.
It's not happening.
Terry, pull it up.
No,
honestly, go to the first penalty. Go to it.
I will never hear from anyone offside. I'll never hear.
No. It was. Whether you want to deny it or not.
I've seen the picture that shows offside, but I need to see the video. I haven't seen the video.
Right. So the video to that picture, that player, I can't remember who it was. I think it's Harrison. I'm not too sure. Gets the ball offside. He then passes it back into the middle. I'm not too sure who it was to, but then that player then hit it over into the box to create the penalty. So the offside player was directly involved in the build-up of the place, and it was offside.
How many passes between the handball? Just one.
Again, it was him passing.
Again, because that will just come down to this is where the questions need to be asked, as opposed to everyone theorizes. It will be about phases of play and whether it's considered.
It was directly affected.
Because he received it. But the reason I say that is, again, they check every penalty decision they check on VAR. They go and check. There's no other reason to disallow the penalty, like offsides. So this is where all we need is communication, because if they 100%. Say it isn't offside because it's second phase of play because of this action, there is no more controversy. The red card, by the way, as well. I mean, I didn't understand why it got rescinded. I got why the penalty was overturned. You're absolutely right, because the foul was committed by Bamford first, but he does kick out, and then someone said didn't hit him. You don't need to hit to be sent. I remember Paul Scholes got sent off against Liverpool. He's having his shirt pulled by Alonso, and he turned around and he swung a punch. A little bit of a sissy punch as well, to be fair. Missed him, still got sent off because he threw an arm out. It's not it's the in violent conduct. It's more about the attempt as opposed to hitting someone. That's why I've always been confused. You know, when players get sent off for little slaps in the face, I'm like, why don't you knock the man stone cold unconscious? You're going to get 3 game ban anyway. You might as well. You might as well get your money's worth, innit? You know, like when when you're driving in your car and you get flashed by a speed camera, people slow down. What's the point? It would have been fine. Keep going. It don't make sense to slow down then. It's stupid.
It happened in the WSL game this weekend. I think it was between.
Oh my god, the Aston Villa and West Ham, wasn't it? Yeah.
Slapped the other player. Like,
oh my god.
Her intent was to hurt her. Honestly.
Yeah, she proper slapped her. But in regard to like the decision, right now, David, I would admit that game there was some. There was waivers, but in all, it sort of matched itself because their penalty they got first place. Watch the video. Just watch the video. Trust me, it's offside. Whether you want to agree with it or not, it's just fact.
I'm not hearing. I'll never hear from any Arsenal fan ever. My point is, regardless of what you think, I'm not hearing from Arsenal fans there is a conspiracy against us. I'm not hearing it.
Well, no. I would agree. We've been right on our luck.
Yeah, but that's not. But Monty, I think you're getting confused between no disrespect between decisions going our way and conspiracy, because if there was a conspiracy to stop Arsenal from winning, what's changed this year? Like they would have given the red card and they wouldn't have changed their mind.
The only thing that's changed is that Arsenal are better, which I've been trying to tell.
Yes.
Referees make bad decisions, and some of them go for you, some of them go against you. The reason why you finish 8th and 5th, and why this season I think you're going to finish in the top 4, is purely based on how good or how bad you are. The referee's decision, like you said in that game, maybe evened itself out. Over the course of a season, over the course of 5 years, the referee's decision has a minimal, minute to not near effect on how a team performs over a period.
Look, at the end of the day as well, name me a title winner or like a title contender who hasn't had luck on their side throughout a season. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you just need it.
No, everybody gets it. There's no doubt about that.
Can I just say one thing? So, Mon, you got title contenders then?
That's a subject for later. We'll kind of come on to that. We've been saving that one to the end. Sorry, Pat. We're coming to that soon, people. We're coming to that soon. So I want to ask about Tottenham first. We've got some super chats first. So first one says Spurs play like that every game. Is for what Zach says here. Felt like a coming of age game from Ramsdale. He looked shaky towards the end of last season, but he really saved our asses yesterday. Arsenal ain't the old Arsenal. People are just angry for us doing well. They couldn't prove that Gabriel had intent. I don't think you need to be able to prove intent personally. Otherwise, there'd never be a red card given. Nobody is talking about Kane's penalty, but we're going to move on to that in a little bit, my friends. So we'll come to that in a moment. Before we talk titles, there was also someone says, Terry, if you punch someone that hard, you get more than 3 game ban. It's called a joke, bruv. I wasn't actually being serious. Like, come on. You got to tell the difference between a joke and being serious on this. I wanted to ask you, Patrick, though. Obviously, you guys won this weekend. Tottenham won. Level on points with Manchester City. Maybe your best performance of the season. It felt like your best performance from my perspective. But do you feel like Spurs are not getting enough respect for your greatest ever start to a Premier League season?
100%. And I've been saying it from day dot, as you know, on here, that there's more than one way to skin a cat. And yes, I know the football isn't scintillating at times and it's not been attacking and we've not been giving the fans or, like they're not on the edge of their seats. But at the end of the day, we're winning games, and more often than not, we're winning games quite comfortably. And we scored the 3rd most amount of goals in the league. We've got the 3rd most amount of wins in the league. We've conceded the 2nd most amount of goals in the league this season so far. So we're obviously a good team. There's different ways, like I keep saying, to skin a cat, different ways to win a game. Yes, people might not like it because it's not tick-a-tacker and it's not this and that, but we get the job done. We've got quality players up front. We've got a quality manager. We've got good components, and together we do play good football. In terms of we know how to defend, we know when to move the ball about. And like you said, Terry, we controlled that game. The only reason why Everton had those, the irony behind it is Everton had those 2 good chances in the first half. They were from mistakes. But once we ironed that out, it was just one-way football. And you're seeing players improve. Like Højbjerg looks a lot better this season. Bentancur is doing a real good job in that middle. Basuma came on and changed the game as well. So we got the quality there. And I feel, to be fair, Terry, the funny thing is we've got Tottenham fans who are moaning, saying that, you guys don't show us enough respect, this and that. I don't really care about the respect from rivals. I just want us to go about our business and just go along quietly under the radar. Let the Arsenals and even the Chelseas and all these guys get the plaudits, get the pressure, because when they do lose a game or two, then they're going to start to feel it from the media. We can just quietly chug along in the background, because I know we're going to be there or thereabouts, and we just keep doing what we're doing. So yeah, to be fair, I'm not that bothered. Obviously, you've seen Spurs fans talk a lot of shit, even come at you, which I was really surprised about. That was a bit weird. When we saw, I'm not even going to say his name, because I don't want to give him credit, but to say that the representation of Spurs fans on the channel isn't good, or we don't back, I'm always here going at everyone. The gal, I go at you, Terry, and I don't agree with your points. Jess and I have been back to back. I've been clipped for going at Arsenal, and I got it wrong that day. Do you know what I mean? But the point is, I'm always here standing my ground and repping for Spurs. So when I see people like that just talk shit, it just makes no sense.
Well, I agree with that point. And I think what was interesting for me is that I couldn't really work out whether his gripe was with me, because he says in a video, he was on a show with Henry Wright last night, and he basically said, Henry sent me the links I'd watch. And he was sort of like, Terry just kisses a lot of Arsenal, too much of Arsenal's arse and Chelsea's arse. And then the very next sentence basically said, but I don't care about those two clubs. Well, clearly you do, otherwise it wouldn't bother you. So he's even got an issue with me for like saying other teams are good. And maybe, I mean, the irony in it is it's all about the snapshot. Because this time last year, when you guys employed Antonio Conte, I was talking about how brilliant I think you're going to be under him, how I think you'll leave the others behind and make it into that top four. So it's all about the snapshot of when you watch me, depending on your opinion. What really annoyed me, though, was the way he went at you and he went at George, the way he went at Alex and other, Orchie that calls in. The irony in it is our Spurs rep really bad. We have young Daniel from America that calls into every match reaction show. That Daniel is one of his main hosts on his channel. And I'm like, so we actually have some good... Like, it's crazy for me. For me, I think the geezer was clout chasing. I've told him as well, I'm not going to go onto anyone else's channel and debate him. We do enough phone-in shows each week. He can phone in whenever he wants to challenge me. It's up to him. But yeah, listen,
like Terry, I know you've got to be a bit more PC because, you're a host and you try and be neutral. I'll say it. The guy's wet. At the end of the day, he made Spurs fans look wet with those comments. I'm here, innit? Like, at me next time, because he is wet for saying that. And he made us look like we're all crying about we're not. At the end of the day, if Arsenal are doing well, then so be it. They deserve the credit. At the end of the day, let us just go about our business. Why do you want praise from every single person?
Patrick,
you can just... Yeah.
Actually, you know what? It didn't make sense as well. It's like he victimized you lot. He made you lot feel inferior when you're actually doing well. So it just didn't match up.
I know, it's weird, isn't it? It's weird.
Yeah.
So it's really weird, man. I don't really understand his mindset. The same guy who's on fucking Twitter beefing with chicks and going at people if they don't agree with his opinion. The guy's a fucking wet wipe. So let me not say no more than that. It's just,
I hear that.
Back onto the football. I've got a question.
Go on. So, with that being said, Spurs, how good Spurs, great start to the season. Kane still finished behind Ronaldo in this. So,
Kane finished behind fucking Nunez. So I don't know how much we want to take behind.
I know, man. You might finish above. Kane got 20.
I got a question for you, Patrick. Right? Because I was watching the Everton and Spurs game when Richarlison got injured. I thought maybe like for like Lucas Moura come on. Then it hit me straight away. Conte only has, and I think David will back me up on this. Conte only has about 15 players he trusts, and Moura's not within those players. So Basuma then came in, and I just want to ask you, what do you prefer, the 3-4-3 or the 3-5-2? Because when you play the 3-5-2, I feel you look more fluent, and Son and Kane are closer to goal. Their output's already great, but I feel like the output becomes greater when both of them are the focal point. However, when you've got a talent like I don't even know how to pronounce his name, Kulusevski, you have to try and incorporate him into the system. That's the only problem. But what do you prefer out of the two?
Strong bench. Put him on the bench, man. Strong bench.
I prefer the 3-5-2, man. I prefer the 3-5-2 because we just look more solid. And even though there's one less attacking player, we still create a lot more chances because the middle isn't overran. And it allows Højbjerg as well to venture a bit more forward, hence why you're seeing him pop up in more attacking areas, and he's chipping in with goals and assists as well, even though you wouldn't expect that from a player like him. He's doing a bit more because he's got, obviously, Basuma can stay back. Bentancur also starts moving around a bit more. So I prefer that. It allows us to not get overran by teams because the Premier League's got a lot of good players. Like even like, for example, a team like Wolves, Brighton. They've got technical, techie players there. So if you allow them time and space, they're going to make you look stupid. Even Southampton, James Ward-Prowse, if you allow him time on the ball, he will kill you as well. So yeah, it allows us to have an extra man there. If the guy is good like Basuma, you can just obviously create more chances and you're just a bit more stable.
Yeah. Some super chats here, and I'll go to you again in a minute. I forget your name for Patrick. Nobody about Kane's penalty. I was going to say about Kane's penalty very quickly. 100% it was a penalty. Just because it was the goalkeeper's head doesn't mean it wasn't a foul. He went to get the ball, he missed it. It was obviously Kane went down easy, but all players do. Like it is what it is, but it was a foul.
Yeah, it was a pen.
Keep an eye out for
Sinistera. He's a good player actually for Leeds.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's a good player.
He's finishing.
He's not.
Tottenham have shown consistency in ugly play. Arsenal play one bad Prem game in recent history, and therefore, and I can't read that word. Anomaly. Sorry, an anomaly. Only play the history card when it fits you is what Sat P has got to say there. Maya here says, Maria Williams says, big up Toby, always representing us well, comedy Spurs. I swear.
Yeah, tapping Tobes, 100%. No, they saying big up
tapping
Toby
Tobes,
as
right,
well.
right. Yeah, tapping Tobes is great at what he does. Again,
no, Toby, that's Patrick's role.
That's so random.
Who have Spurs played and beat that are top teams? Well, no one yet, but they play Man United on Wednesday. But coming to that a little bit later in the show, so stay with us for the previews.
Again, top teams.
All right, bro.
When we played Brighton, they were
chill out, bro.
When we played Brighton, they were fourth. They were doing well. So yeah.
Top teams.
Patrick, though, can you do me a favor and ask Monty that question you were about to ask him a few moments ago?
Yeah, Monty. Obviously, when you spoke about what is it? You said essentially title. This is a sign of a title-winning team or title-challenging team. Do you believe you guys are title challengers?
Now, I'm quite annoyed that the Man City game got delayed because I said that even at the start of the season, I said October is when I make my decision because we need to play the top teams. And we had Tottenham, Liverpool, City in the same month. And say what you want, they were always going to be our competition for top four or even more. We passed two convincingly as well. I think even Liverpool last week, if they played like they did against any other team, they would have beaten them because they actually played rather well, but we just shut them down and countered explosively quickly. But if any other team, they probably were going to do well. I think we can, for us to realistically say, look, we're going to be competing on that title, like definitely we're dead set. I need to see us getting into that sort of Boxing Day, January, top of the table. So we've got four more games. Statistically, we've actually got the easiest schedule out of the top 6 at the current time up until Jan 3rd. So we should be at the top. And I think if we can top and we do go to Chelsea, at the bridge, then that's definitely a convincing sign. I think at the moment you can't say we're not. I think it's difficult for us to say we're not just because of how consistent we're playing. And people said this about Leicester. People said this about City when they won it a few years ago when they did the Centurions. I'm not saying we're doing Centurions, but they were just consistent. They played, and they had those some odd games where they were under the cosh, but they still scraped to win, and that was sort of Leeds for us. For us, though, it's about how do we bounce back from that. Do we let that hinder our mentality, or do we sort of come out of that thinking we're kind of invincible, like we can even play bad and still win? So I think if we can go into that Christmas period still top, we are definitely title contenders.
So 100%. Yes or no?
I'm gonna say I will say yes, but I want to see us top of the table. For me to 100% be like absolutely 100%, I want to see us top. Going into World Cup break,
proper like Liz Truss there. Just
but the thing is we could lose to Chelsea. We could lose to Chelsea, win our next 3 games, and we'll still be top no matter what because we're 4 points adrift.
Big up for Gal, but it must be an Arsenal thing. You just want a straight answer, and you're just deviating around the question.
I get there is nuance to it, and I understand that. I mean, what's interesting is this. What I'm seeing from a good few Arsenal accounts at the minute is don't let anybody pressure you into like making bold predictions.
Be my next point.
And I get that. And I get that they don't want that. Why? I know there's some rivals on this. Neeks, why do you think some Arsenal accounts are now pushing this notion of let's not say anything above just finishing the top 4? Is that to relieve pressure from the team? Is that not to be laughed at if they collapse? But at some point, like there has to be a point in the season if they're still top, where if they drop off massively, it's looked at as going like it looks at as a fact. Like, why do you think this is?
I'll tell you why. Because they don't truly believe that they're going to win the title. That's why. So, and that's the only thing that it can be, because the reason will be at the end of the season, and it's fair enough. At the end of the season, if I would say when you don't win the title, but you finish second or third, or maybe even fourth, the reason at that point would be, well, our target was fourth anyway. So by not ever putting yourself as title contenders, as long as you meet your preseason expectations, it's a good season. But things change. So if you are top at Christmas and then you finish fourth, something went wrong and it has to be questioned, but they don't want that questioning. So I think if they really believe they were title contenders, they would say, we're title contenders. Yeah. They don't really believe it. And I don't blame them for not really believing it, because like I said earlier, we know their history. They also know their history. But before maybe last season wasn't great, and all of a sudden now they're first. They wasn't really expecting this. So it kind of is what it is. They don't really believe enough in it. But
I'll counter that.
Go on, Money.
If you don't truly believe it, then you can't criticize us for not believing it as well. That's what I'll say.
No. I think you did right, and I think I was on Never a Foul with Daps and Kaz earlier on this season, and they asked me, and they clipped it. They've got it. They're waiting for they're waiting to share it, but they can't because I'm spot on at the moment. And I said to them, if Mikel Arteta gets the transfers he wants, internally he is telling them to win the league, because that is who he is as a person. I do not see Mikel Arteta as a person going, let's go for top 4. He's not that guy. He's just not that guy. He's a mentality monster. He wants to win everything.
No.
But you can say, but that's just. But he's our manager. I know more what he is as a character, and I know, and we saw in it All or Nothing documentary who he is as a character. He's telling them internally. I said if we get our targets, and we missed out on one, we missed out on a midfielder. So if we fill that in January, I genuinely do not see us why we can't finish, because everyone keeps saying, oh, but one injury away. So is every other team. So every other team's one injury. If Man City lost Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri, their midfield's a shambles. Literally, it's actually quite a shambles, and you can exploit it. If Chelsea lose Mount, who's currently in form right now, and Koulibaly at the back, you're quite leaky at the back. If Liverpool lose Salah, do you know what I mean? It can happen. If Tottenham lose Kane, who scores half the goals, and it's because he is a world-class striker. It's as simple as that. He is just a great striker, and if you supply him, he'll score. But if you take that away, they dry up, and every team is that away. So that's what I don't like, that narrative. And we got our targets, and there's a feel-good factor.
I noticed this weekend.
Go on.
So, sorry, just before you go, Patrick, I've noticed this weekend, right? I don't know if any of you noticed it. The Arsenal fans that wanted Liverpool to win subconsciously really actually believe they are title contenders, and the Arsenal fans that weren't really bothered about the result generally just feel they are top 4 contenders. I noticed that this weekend.
Arsenal fans celebrated the Liverpool result more than the Newcastle result.
Arsenal's back on contract extension.
Yeah, well, we saw that with Jess's prediction on Friday. She was like, "I want Liverpool to lose."
Yeah,
and everybody said why. She said, "Well, I want Liverpool to lose because I want them out of the top 4 race." Because she still sees them as more of a. I think there's some Arsenal fans, and this is where I just would like fans to. I did a little clip from Fan Channel Review Show earlier today, saying that there are a lot of people that pretend to be in the fan media sphere that we're in, but all they're ever trying to do is tell people to stay calm and not make any bold predictions, never be hyperbolic. Never slag off one of your own players. Never overreact in happiness or overreact in annoyance. And I'm sitting there like, that is what being a football fan is all about. And if you're going to stop that, this industry that's been created out of nowhere is going to disappear and go away. And you'll become as boring and as mundane as the mainstream media. If you actually look at the mainstream media, TalkSport have literally gone, right, we're just going to get people on our shows now that do what the fans were doing. Because their presenters were always fairly neutral. Now they're all fans and back a certain club. You've got like what CBS do on their Champions League nights. That for me is fan culture now being on the mainstream where they're just having fun and it's kind of not 100% professional. It is in the traditional sense of the word. It's brilliant. And I get this feeling there's two lots of Arsenal fans. You've got some that don't want to admit they believe because they don't want to be clipped or they don't want to be called out by certain Arsenal fans. They say, no, don't step out of line. And then you've got others that are like, no, I just think that we're in the top 4 race. They're then kind of getting abused by the same people that think you're actually going to do it. And I just want Arsenal fans to be honest individually, not as a group, because you're not a group. You're individuals. You're all sovereign. All got your own opinions. Is say what you think and feel. And some Arsenal fans, Colleen's one of the only ones that comes on here and says it. She's like, we are in this title race. And I respect that. She doesn't care if she's right or wrong. Her life, her job, nothing is going to change if she's wrong. Equally, nothing even changes if she's right. It's a fucking opinion. And I'm so frustrated that people struggle to get. You know, someone said to me the other day, I think you should stop predictions on your channel, Terry, because they're pointless. I'm like, no, previewing a game and giving a prediction. What's wrong with it? He goes, but what if you get it wrong? It can ruin someone. I'm like, who gets ruined by it? David, you've had a lot of things wrong on the terrace.
Crazy.
How well is your life going right now, David?
Pretty well.
Pretty well. Do you know what I mean? Patrick, have you been dragged into an office at work and told you got a prediction wrong, you're going to lose your job?
Nah, never.
You know what I'm saying?
Never.
It doesn't happen.
They killed me for the party shout, though. They killed me for that in the office.
When I get a prediction wrun, I'll let you lot know how it goes. But I'm 100% at the moment.
I'll be. Don't worry. I'll be here in May.
I think a discussion we should have though, instead of a title race, is the top 4. You know, because I think Newcastle, you know, are more of a threat.
I don't want to go off the title race. I want to stay on the. Sorry, I just want to stay on the title race for a little bit longer. But it's about Arsenal, Tottenham, though, because by the same breath, if Arsenal fans have got to start talking about the title race, Spurs are level on points with City. I don't even think Spurs have been playing their best as of yet. They could get even better. There's another level to go to. Yeah. Surely we have that same pressure must be applied to Tottenham from this point of view.
Nah,
I think Tottenham are just unlucky.
You've got a manager. Your manager is one of the best league managers in the world. You've got a world-class strike force. You don't really concede that many goals. Midfield-wise, you haven't even introduced Basuma properly to this team yet. Surely there must be a conversation too, because the reason I say this is this, and I'm respecting Tottenham and Arsenal here. Everybody keeps saying, well, what if they get injuries? What if this, what if that? City have had no injuries. They've had their best team from the start of the season, and they've dropped as many points as Tottenham, and they've dropped more points than Arsenal. So this notion, like, I'm not saying City won't run away with it. Yes, we know they can go on a 10, 15 game unbeaten run, but so far, I don't think they have been that much better than those two teams. They've definitely not been better than Arsenal over the course of these opening 10 games. So why is it not conceivable that Tottenham and Arsenal can keep up with them for a period of time? They've done it for over a quarter of the season.
I think there's sort of two things into it, really. I think on a Spurs perspective, I think it's just unlucky. I think it's unlucky. Like, obviously, they've had their best ever start to a season, and like, all credit to them that they have played well. They've scraped some wins as well, and they've got those ones that they shouldn't have, but they've done it, and that's what contenders do. They get those points, and I think although they've had this best start, Arsenal just have also had the best start ever, and not just in top flight since 1903. Was the last time we had a season like this, and I wasn't in top flight, but nonetheless, it gives you an idea. It's just sort of unlucky it's coming at the same time. So I think Spurs are sort of being pushed under the rug because you have to look at sometimes the heritage and history. And
I get that, I do get that, but that's the whole point, Monty. Sorry to interject, but that's my point. It's the best start Spurs have had in a generation, the greatest start in Arsenal's history. Now, Arsenal are a big club that win major trophies. The expectation is to challenge. I'm not saying put ridiculous pressure on your players to go and win it now, but you should expect to at least stay within touching distance. Spurs fans, and I know you don't like me saying this, but you want to be seen as a giant club. So you've had the best start you've had in your lifetimes. The best start you've had, I think I read some of the best start you've had to a league campaign since Bill Nicholson. I don't know if that's true. I just read it in a tweet from somebody. Why should you not put pressure on your team to go to the next level? Because I'm telling you now, Liverpool and City, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Man United, all the big clubs do that. So why should your two clubs who profess to be as big or want to be as big not do the same thing? That is what the big clubs do. It's the pressure that you put upon your players. Can you handle it? That's what giant clubs do, right?
Just to add to what you said earlier as well, for me, Tottenham still have that level to go and you're still where you're at. So imagine when you hit that level, who's to say you can't? I don't understand Tottenham fans kind of playing it down.
Best thing is Arsenal as well, though. We can get better.
Yeah,
we can actually
Yeah,
do
we're
better.
playing it down. We're doing what Arsenal are doing right now, because Arsenal are top of the league, and realistically, they should be all screaming at the title contenders. They're playing good football. They've won the most amount of games. They've only dropped 3 points out of 30. That's absolutely crazy. So realistically, all Arsenal fans should be saying they're contenders, but they've been scarred. They've got PTSD. They've seen them, fall away before. It's the same with us. Like, no, I'm not even bantering. I'm being serious. So because these two teams haven't done it recently, of course we're going to be a bit reluctant to come out and say it. But yeah, Tottenham,
When
for
you've
me, I've
seen
always
City
said it.
win like
Also,
5
of
of
the
last 6 or
Spurs
7.
won the
That's
transfer window. Don't forget that Spurs won the transfer window. Don't forget that.
I don't know about that.
No. You got your.
David,
I
David,
thought
what about you lot?
Chelsea won it.
David,
No,
what about you lot?
no. Hold on. Before I get on to us, you guys remember this whole summit was get your business done early. You guys got in like 6 transfers. You got in Fraser Force. You won the transfer window. I don't want to hear it.
Then Todd B came in and just
That's what I was hearing.
spunking money.
But people said Sterling was bad.
Who came in?
I don't even remember.
Who came in?
But hold on, who came in?
Todd B.
Sorry, I just wanted to play.
You're the same person who said that Koulibaly's ass. So
yeah,
no,
and
you can't. You can't.
I saw a link that Todd wants to offer Saka a contract to bring into West. It made me laugh so hard today.
No, if he actually Ben Jacobs dealt with that. He goes, they're monitoring him, but like most clubs are monitoring it in case something went wrong. Like it's very normal. Chelsea though, are Chelsea in this? And the reason they were one of the talking points. We didn't quite get. We know they won another game, another clean sheet. They've got a game in hand. Win that game in hand. I know it's against Liverpool, but they win that game in hand. And Chelsea are only 1 point behind Tottenham, and that's after a terrible start and their manager being sacked. Graham Potter, for me, I don't think this is new manager bounce. They look assured. They're getting better each game. Yes, Villa put them under some pressure for a period, but Kepa is allowed to make. I mean, Kepa's actually playing well.
Yeah, that was a real triple save.
David, what are you saying about your keeper?
The fact that Kepa is catching the ball is actually mental. It's genuinely not.
Mate, the power of what a new missus can do is mad.
I don't know.
He's got a new missus and he's doing this remontada. It's actually wild.
You know, Kepa went a whole season without claiming the ball for a corner once. That's like that's the level that we're talking about. He was in the pits and somehow he's come back and
not even once.
Even though it kind of makes sense, but okay.
Yeah, I get that.
What I'm worried about with us is that because Potter doesn't have the experience of being at a top club, that's my biggest thing. And then after that, apart from Potter's not having the experience, is our overall squad is lacking in key areas. Because when I look at places like Reece James is injured right now, and for me, our wing backs are probably some of the most important positions on the field, and we don't really have a backup right wing back. Our backup right wing back is Loftus-Cheek, and contrary to what most Chelsea fans believe, I believe Loftus-Cheek is dead. He's ass. Get him gone. I want him sold.
So you just think you're a little bit short personnel wise then?
I think we're a bit short personnel wise in key positions. That's simple.
Spent the most of the history of ever.
So we can still be short. We can still be short.
How? Why?
Just because you spend money doesn't mean you've grown 3 inches. Look at Terry. He's 5 foot 8 still.
If I spend 230 million or 50 million, I'm large everywhere.
But in fairness, when I drive my new car around, I do feel very large. It does have a way of compensating, to be honest with you. It does do that. It does do it when you spend money. But so I want to go back to Monty's point, though. Like, so David, but like I want to put it into you. So when you think of Chelsea, I'm assuming you're saying no to the title race. You're in the top 4 race. Who else is in the top 4 race? Because obviously, if there's 3 teams in the title race, there's only 1 space left for everybody else. You can't be in a title race and not finish in the top 4 if there's only 3 of you, right? That doesn't make any mathematical sense. So who conceivably is going to challenge Chelsea for this last position? Will Liverpool have a resurgence now, or was that a little bit of an anomaly game? You know, if they go back to that higher line, they're going to be exposed, or are we now going to see Liverpool fight back hard? Could Newcastle challenge? Do Man United have a chance? Or is this just a case of it's a straight shootout between Liverpool and Chelsea now? What are you saying, David?
First of all, I believe by the end of the season, Chelsea will finish above both of the London teams. Personally, that's me. Confidently, we'll finish above Spurs. When I say, I'm like when I look at Spurs, I'm looking at Spurs going.
David, you've been getting a lot wrong recently, so just chill out.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
You've been getting a lot wrong.
I was the first guy on this channel to say that Haaland is levels, and everyone was looking at me like, "Are you sure about that?" So yeah, Okay. First of all,
yeah, that's 1 out of 20. That's 1 out of 20.
Cool. Patrick, believe that. So I've got 3. So in 3 years, I've got the flop of the year 3 times right in a row. Just trust me. I know what I'm talking about. We're definitely going to finish above Spurs. And I definitely think that there's a good chance we finish above Arsenal. Just because when that.
So where are you finishing then? What, you're
Europa
finishing
League
second? You're
Well,
finishing second.
Do you finish above
I
us?
believe. Do I believe? Okay, Liverpool is the question. This is my thing, because Liverpool, even though I love Liverpool being in the mud, I still think they're a good team. And for me, it's between us and Liverpool for second, personally. But in terms of top 4, I believe the top 4 race is between Chelsea, Liverpool, Spurs, Arsenal, and Man United. No one will convince me it's outside of the top 6. The main top 6 are the top 4 challengers. Newcastle, Brighton, all them, man. Yeah, it's cool. You're around at the start of the season. But when it's game 25, when it's game 27, are you there? Probably not. Realistic. Let's be honest. They're probably not there. Right. When it comes to I believe Man City will win the league. The next 5, honestly, even though I believe that Chelsea could be second or third, it could be any order. I'm not joking. Spurs could hit form and actually start playing some really good football and conceding less shots on goal, and they'll finish second. Whereas Spurs and Arsenal could legit both just go back to being Spurs and Arsenal in their own little mini league where they just lose next to each other all the time. And Liverpool decide, oh yeah, we'll drop our line 10 yards back, and then suddenly they're back in second place. It's so close between all of these clubs. I genuinely don't know the correct order. I'm just going to back my own team because I'm a Chelsea fan. Why would I not back my own team?
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
David, in a nutshell, you're saying we're on course for the most exciting 2nd to 5th race.
Second to 6th is going to be very interesting because I still look at Man United, and even though they're a bit, like Terry's like holding back, saying we're Man United, we still got a lot of rebuilding to do. I still think just the fact that you are one of the top 6 teams will get you, not because referees give you decisions or whatever, just the genuine thing of like, I'm at a big club will give you like 5-10 points.
They've got that pedigree.
Exactly. The pedigree of just being one of those teams will get you a bit of a bonus. How close they are, again, I believe that 2nd to 5th will be like literally like 5 points. And I believe Man United will be 6th and there'll be another 5 points behind that. But I genuinely think it'll be about 10, maybe 12 points between 2nd and 6th. So you could be anywhere within that. I believe all the teams have a plus or minus 12 on them. Genuinely, they could be wherever people think they are.
Interesting. Like, I don't think I know people will say we're playing it down as well. I haven't seen enough from Man United yet to say top 4 contenders, but who knows? Who knows? Especially after this week when we play Tottenham, which we'll be previewing soon. But look, I think Liverpool still got a chance. They've just got to sit that high. If they keep playing with a high line, this squad ain't getting nothing's changing. They'll keep conceding those goals early. Like, it's been 6 months they've been doing that for now. They've got to make some changes. And if Klopp does that, who knows? Like, they have got quality players. They've got one of the best players in the world. Whether he could just come fourth in the Ballon d'Or, Mo Salah, and he didn't really get spoken about when we chatted about Liverpool. Like,
that's the annoying thing. Our fan base is like, no, but it won't be attractive. It won't be pleasing to the eye. If we've got a certain goal to get there, sometimes you have to change in what you do. There's no harm in that. It's not like we're going to be labeled, oh, Klopp's now a defensive manager. You know he's not, but sometimes just change up what you're doing to get a different result. I think we should keep the deep line, but Terry, I'll still know Klopp will revert back to type and we will play that high line, and I feel like it could be to our detriment. So you just never know.
Yeah, it's going to be an intriguing one. Viewers, who do you think's in the title race as of now and or top 4 race? Get your comments in below. We want to hear from you right now. Super chat here says, has Spurs won anything in the past 10 years, even the Carling Cup or FA Cup? Please, I don't know what I meant to say, something. Please don't compare them to Arsenal, both recent and historically, is what Act Fire has got to say. Gunner King says, we take each game as it comes and we move. Yeah, but Gunner King, I know deep in your heart, Gunner King, you believe you're in the title race. You just don't want to say it yet. I know you believe, brother. I know.
Can I speak on that? It's the one thing I hate. You know, when and this is why the Invincibles will never happen again. This is honestly my take, right? So I remember when Liverpool obviously went really close and they lost to Watford, didn't they? And they were like, oh, we're going to take every game one by one, take it one by one. Mate, Arsene Wenger went, "We're gonna go on invincible," and he manifested it because he just said it. He didn't do none of this PR
Positive
management. He went, "Look,
affirmations.
boom, we can do that. Let's do it, right?" And then nowadays it's all this, push it down, no, take your games count, bro. Just say it. If you're gonna do it,
No,
do it. And if you
Conte
don't,
is capping though. He's atted me. I've got it clipped and bookmarked. He's there saying where challengers clip this, where tear. That was last week. So I don't even know. Gunner King, what are you doing? I've
Big
got
up
it
Gunner
saved.
King. I was on the stream with him, and he deep down believes. Big up Gunner King, but he does deep down believe they're in it.
The only Arsenal fan, out of all the Arsenal fans I know, like online, the only Arsenal fan that I genuinely believe does not believe they're in the top, like a title race is Jess.
Yeah, Jess is Jess.
Everybody else,
and I agree. And how I know a lot of Arsenal fans really think they are is by the way she is then spoken to by those gooners. The TPF still exists. The toxic positivity gooners still exist. If you don't, again, Arsenal have a miniature group of Arsenal fans have become a bit like the communist Merseyside fans, where if you don't say the right thing, you get destroyed. I think Jess last night said, I'm not even celebrating that. This is what's crazy about it. I've seen Man United win games where I've been so annoyed with the performance, even with the win, I've been like, screw you. Equally, if we'd have scored a last-minute winner against Newcastle, I think we performed well enough for me to have celebrated that, and they're a tough team. If you're up against Bournemouth and they outplay you and you score a last-minute winner, I don't celebrate because I feel like I'm still annoyed at you.
Should have been done.
Yeah, but there's a lot out there. There's a lot out there that don't like it. But at the same time, they won't, with chest, say, I think we can win. And I do agree with you, Monty. I think there's an element of Man United. When we won the double in the mid-90s, the following year we won the double, the only team to do it. And then in the montages that built for the next 3 years where the season's built up, Fergie actively spoke about in kind of advertising montages and interviews, we want to do the treble. It was something Fergie spoke about regularly. We want to do the treble. We want to do the treble. And it eventually happened. And I think you have to put it out there as a kind of
100%.
That's the goal. Like, and I think if Arsenal started setting that standard, you can raise the players, and it's all about planting the seed of doubt. If you get to a point in the season where you're 6 points clear at the top, but Arsenal, the squad keep getting told by the fans, by the club, you don't need to win it, guys. It's okay. You won't win it. There needs to come a point where it's okay not to win it, but we want you to fight tooth and nail. You guys, you need to set that standard. That kind of that seed of doubt being planted. It's okay not to challenge. I think that's detrimental for the longer term gain of your club, and that's only because the elite athletes through the history of sport and teams don't think like that. None of them think like it. When Emma Raducanu won the US Open, she wasn't sitting there going, it's okay if I don't win though, isn't it? Because I'm not meant to be here. She went into that with saying, I can win this now. I'm going to do something that no English tennis player, female tennis player has done for 70 odd years. That's the mindset. I mean, she hasn't been so great since. Fair play to us.
She's Spurs, by the way. So yeah, Coys, well done. She's Spurs all the way.
She's Spurs, is she? There we go. Well, at least one of you is winning something. Do you know what I mean, bro? Do you know? It's one of them.
No, 100%. You've got to manifest the stuff, though. Do you know what I mean? It works not in just in sports, in business. Look at Elon Musk and his crazy stuff. He wants to go to Mars now. He's building reusable rockets.
I don't know if you're allowed to mention online. Is he not a cancelable person? I get
you've got
not yet.
Serial winner.
Not yet, but it's coming. It's coming. He'll get cancelled. He'll be cancelled for being rich.
But he can't be cancelled off Twitter because my mother owns it now, don't he? That's Twitter. By the way, when he takes over, when he comes back, when he takes over Twitter, all the banned people are coming back. Like you're going to see Katie Hopkins is going to be back, Trump's going to be back, Mino Yiannopoulos is going to be back. Wiley's going to be back. Tommy Robinson. I mentioned Wiley and Tommy Robinson and the same. All of them are going to be back. There is honestly, Twitter is going to be carnage for a few. I think I'll have to mute a lot of things.
I might have to get my own one just
to watch it. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Guys, midweek games though coming up. We'll kind of give just quick previews on these. First one we've got to speak about, of course, is going to be Man United hosting Tottenham. I know obviously three of us are on a preview in a little while on that, so we'll get through this pretty quickly. But what are you saying, Patrick? Coming to Old Trafford, confident in the win?
No, I'm not. I'm worried about this one, to be fair, because every time, like even last year, I was on the 12th man with Neeks. And I was like, yeah, we're gonna do. Every time we go to Old Trafford, something goes wrong. So yeah, man, I'm excited to see what happens, but I'm not gonna sit here with chest and lie. I'm not. Yeah, man, I don't know what's going to happen.
I'm glad you learned your lesson.
Yeah. No, I'm just.
Patrick was talking all the smack. and Ronaldo just laced it in.
Yeah,
free
Ronaldo
throws.
dunked on us. It was horrible. It was horrible. So
Wait,
yeah, I don't know.
Neeks and Tell, is Martial back for this? I've heard rumors he may be.
Well, he wasn't even on the bench on the weekend, was he? So I don't know. There was talk that he should have been on the bench for Newcastle.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. So I doubt he'll start. I doubt, but we'll see. Because Eriksen wasn't even on the bench, but I think he might start.
Yeah.
Against Spurs. It's not going to be easy game. It's not going to be easy game because we have the onus to dominate the ball. You lot don't want to dominate the ball, so we're going to have to dominate the ball, and that's going to be perfect for you lot.
Yeah.
Or, three in the midfield with two up front, Kane and Son, and it's going to be dangerous on the counter attack. We want you to have the ball because we were dangerous on the counter attack. So unlike when we played Liverpool and Arsenal, where we don't, even though for maybe 15-20 minute periods we try and gain possession of the ball, over the 90 minutes they dominated it, and it was perfect for us to hit them on the counter. Against you lot, it's not going to be easy, but I have to back my team against Spurs at Old Trafford. We generally do, you lot. I know everyone say 6-1. Yeah, I get it. We played 100 times, but we generally do, you lot, Old Trafford.
What's your score prediction then, bro?
2-1. 2-1 United.
2-1, Patrick?
0-0.
0-0.
Oh,
0-0.
blank.
Wait, score prediction, David, for United Tottenham?
3-1 United.
Rums?
2-2.
2-2. And Monty?
I'm gonna go 1-1 United, but I think it depends on the United that we see on the day, because I think
1-1
if you do your sorry, like 1-1. I think 1-1. I think what United need to do, and they need to follow what Arsenal did with Tottenham, because I think that was sort of the blueprint of how to beat Tottenham. Because what Tottenham love to do, obviously, they're a counter-attacking team and they could rip you like that. But what we did is we managed to pin their fullbacks so far back that they couldn't actually counter-attack because there was only 2 people up. Whereas when they normally do it, they have 4. So they have 4 channels at verticals that they can exploit. So if Anthony and Rashford can pin their fullbacks back, I think they'll win that game. But if they lose that battle, I think Tottenham could even turn it around and win 2-1. So it's all going. That's the decider. I think that fullback battle is the decider. So I want to go 1-1 though. 1-1.
Neeks, Liverpool versus West Ham.
At home.
At Anfield, yeah.
Playing too good. I would say 3-1 Liverpool. 3-1, yeah.
Yeah,
Patrick?
you took the score right out of my mouth. 3-1 as well, man. Yeah, I think Liverpool win that.
3-1. Monty?
I'm gonna go bold. I want to say 4-0. I think Liverpool back. I think Liverpool back. I think Firmino might have a game, and I see big score. I'm going to go 4-0. Bold.
David?
2-1 West Ham. It's finally going to happen.
What?
Yep. I'm in a good mood today. I just want to see people losing. 2-1. Go for it. Run it. Who cares?
Roms, what are you saying? You confident?
Yeah, man. I think we'll win 2-0. We will revert back to type in terms of our high line, but I think that what that City victory did to us did the world of good. The confidence, the morale, I just think it's back, and it will nullify West Ham. We kept our first actual bar Everton and Bournemouth, which was an anomaly. We kept our first clean sheet. That's another thing that was so grand about yesterday. Not only that we beat City, we stopped them from scoring, and I think that's just going to do us the world of good. Yeah. So yeah, 2-0.
2-0. I'm going to go over 2-0 to Liverpool as well. I think this will if they sit that line a little bit deeper. I think they don't even literally 5-6 yards. I think they'll win this game.
And can I just add to that as well? Like you were saying earlier, Terry, that if you say things that the wider fan base don't agree with, you get slaughtered for it. And I have, but I don't want to see Trent starting until the Nottingham Forest game. So that's another thing. I don't want to see Trent just yet.
Cool.
Cheeky pads, Dad.
Yeah. So final one of the top 6 playing, because obviously the Arsenal City game has been postponed. Back to you first, Roms. Brentford Chelsea. What's your score prediction?
2-1 Chelsea.
David?
3-1 Chelsea.
Neeks?
I'm going 1-1.
Ooh.
Yeah, Brentford are playing well. Brentford are still playing well, to be fair. And Tony's still scoring. So yeah, I go 1-0.
Patrick, what are you saying, mate?
2-0 Chelsea, unfortunately.
Monts?
I'm gonna go 1-0 Chelsea. I think Brentford might sort of disrupt Chelsea, but I think Chelsea will get there and Everton will go off. Just think the quality will be there at the end of the day. But I'm gonna go 1-0 Chelsea.
I'm going to go with 3-0 Chelsea. I think they're going to keep scoring goals. I think there's going to be another clean sheet. And then we're going to start more of a Chelsea.
Not a Tony penalty, no.
No. I mean, do you know what I find interesting about with Chelsea?
He's clinical, man. He hasn't missed one, I don't think.
Yeah. What I think is interesting about Chelsea, I really do, and Man United to a degree, it's very quiet in the fan bases. That Chelsea's even more intriguing. No one's getting too excited with these wins. Equally not downbeat, it's just very quiet, and I'm kind of waiting for a result. And maybe it's Brentford, maybe it's a big game against Man United, maybe it's a few teams dropping points whilst they win. And I think soon there's going to be an explosion of excitement in the Chelsea fan base around we can also push maybe for a title or to maybe start winning things. Like, I just feel like everyone's kind of treading water and just, towing a party line a little bit. So it's going to be intriguing to see. But there we go. Viewers, I appreciate all of you tuning in today, all the super chatters, new members, new subscribers. Thank you very much indeed. Please make sure you smash the like button before you go. Back tomorrow with Lee Gunner for Straight Facts. I'm very excited about that because he's in the mud again. He's been in the mud every single week, not just with Arsenal, but he said to me last week, Mo Salah's not a good footballer.
I couldn't believe it.
Oh, that's
232 goal contributions in 267 games. My question to you've got 24 hours or so. You'll probably watch this, Lee, or someone will clip it and send it to him. I want you to find me another footballer that's not very good, who scored and assisted that many goals in the Premier League, won a Premier League and a Champions League. And if you can find me at least 2, I'll make a donation to charity.
Can I just add to that? I think he's 6 away from Robbie Fowler from being our all-time.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Again, no average footballer has ever done that. So I need him to explain how an average footballer has done it. Listen, until next time, people, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon.